The galaxy was teetering on the edge of chaos, a boiling cauldron of ambition and betrayal. In the shadows, schemes spun like webs, connecting the fates of countless beings. Among the players in this deadly game of manipulation and power, Maul, the former Sith apprentice cast aside by Darth Sidious, was poised to make a dramatic re-entry. Fate brought him to an unusual proposition: an alliance with Count Dooku, the charismatic and formidable leader of the separatists, and Sidious's current apprentice. Together, their shared hatred of Sidious forged a precarious yet potentially cataclysmic partnership. Maul's offer to Dooku was simple: a rebellion against their shared master. Sidious's grip on the galaxy had grown too firm, his plans too consuming, and his betrayal too deep. Dooku, disillusioned by Sidious's lack of transparency and ever-mounting demands, found Maul's proposal intriguing. Where Sidious saw his apprentices as disposable tools, Maul promised something radical: a true partnership. Dooku recognized Maul's raw power and cunning, traits that could complement his own political influence and control over the separatist forces. Together, they could amass a formidable army, uniting the criminal syndicates under Maul's control with the separatists' droid legions. The alliance would need secrecy and strategy, for Sidious's foresight and manipulations extended far and wide. But the opportunity to overthrow the Sith Lord and claim the galaxy for themselves was too tempting to resist. Their collaboration began in shadowed meetings on isolated worlds, away from the prying eyes of Coruscant spies and informants. Maul's vast network of criminal enterprises, collectively known as the Shadow Collective, became an invaluable resource. Dooku, with his deep pockets and command of the separatists, provided the infrastructure and resources for their schemes. Together, they orchestrated a plan to weaken Sidious's grip, manipulating both the Republic and the separatists toward their shared goal. The first step was undermining Sidious's influence within the Senate. Sidious had placed his alter ego, Chancellor Palpatine, at the center of galactic politics. Dooku and Maul used their combined forces to orchestrate strategic strikes against key Republic strongholds, making it appear as though Sidious's strategies were faltering. The Jedi, already stretched thin, found themselves on the defensive, while public opinion of Palpatine's leadership began to waver. Simultaneously, the pair worked to destabilize Sidious's control over his hidden assets. Maul's Shadow Collective launched raids on Sidious's secret facilities, stealing resources and information vital to his schemes. These attacks were carefully disguised, implicating rogue elements within the Republic, creating confusion and mistrust. Maul, who had suffered deeply at Sidious's hands, took personal satisfaction in dismantling his former master's empire piece by piece. Their alliance was not without tension. Maul and Dooku were both ambitious and deeply mistrustful, each wary of betrayal. Dooku, a seasoned politician and tactician, questioned Maul's volatile nature, while Maul doubted Dooku's loyalty, knowing the Count's tendency to bend to power. Despite their mutual suspicions, the necessity of their partnership kept them bound together. Both understood that Sidious's death would only be the beginning. The victor of their inevitable confrontation would hold the galaxy in their grasp. The moment of confrontation with Sidious came faster than either expected. Sidious, no stranger to betrayal, uncovered their alliance and set a trap. On the volcanic world of Mustafar, where the fires reflected the fury of the Sith, Sidious confronted his two apprentices. The clash that followed was cataclysmic, a symphony of red lightsabers cutting through the ashen air. Sidious's power was unmatched, his mastery of the dark side overwhelming, but Maul and Dooku fought with desperate unity. Each strike was fueled by hatred, not just for Sidious but for the oppressive chains of the Sith Order itself. The battle was long and brutal, each combatant pushing the Force to its limits. Maul's ferocity combined with Dooku's precision made them a formidable duo, yet Sidious's cunning and sheer raw power kept him one step ahead. As the duel raged, Sidious taunted them, exploiting their lingering mistrust, sowing seeds of doubt even in the midst of battle. But this time they held firm. Their hatred for their master burned brighter than their fear or suspicion of one another. In the end, their combined strength overwhelmed Sidious. Maul's relentless assault distracted the Sith Lord just long enough for Dooku to deliver the fatal blow, severing the chain that had bound them for so long. Sidious fell, his body consumed by the flames of Mustafar, and with his death, the Sith Order, as it had been for millennia, was shattered. The galaxy, however, was far from at peace. With Sidious gone, Maul and Dooku turned their attention to one another. Their partnership had been forged in necessity, but now, with the throne of galactic dominance unclaimed, their ambitions collided. The balance of power was precarious, with Dooku holding sway over the separatists and Maul commanding the criminal underworld. Their alliance dissolved into a brutal power struggle, each seeking to outmaneuver the other. Maul's forces were adept at guerrilla warfare, striking from the shadows and exploiting Dooku's reliance on conventional military tactics. Meanwhile, Dooku's strategic brilliance and control over the separatist droid armies allowed him to outmaneuver Maul in larger confrontations. Their war destabilized the galaxy even further, plunging it into chaos as systems were forced to choose sides. The Jedi, unaware of Sidious's demise, found themselves caught in the crossfire. They continued their struggle against the separatists, oblivious to the fact that the true puppet master was no longer pulling the strings. The Republic, weakened and leaderless without Palpatine's machinations, struggled to maintain control. Peace, once a distant hope, became an even more elusive dream. Maul, ever the survivor, used the chaos to his advantage, consolidating his power in the Outer Rim. His influence spread like a dark tide, engulfing worlds in an empire of fear and domination. Dooku, bound by his vision of a new galactic order, sought to rally the remaining separatist worlds under his banner. Their visions for the galaxy were fundamentally opposed, with Maul's hunger for revenge and control clashing against Dooku's aristocratic idealism. Yet, in their rivalry, they overlooked the embers of rebellion stirring in the hearts of ordinary beings. From the ashes of the Republic, a new resistance began to form, uniting those who longed for peace and freedom. The Jedi, diminished but not defeated, found allies in unexpected places, rekindling hope amidst the darkness. In the end, Maul and Dooku's alliance, born of necessity and fueled by hatred, became their undoing. Their mutual betrayal and inability to trust one another mirrored the very Sith philosophy that Sidious had exploited to his advantage. The galaxy they sought to rule instead became a battleground for their personal vendettas, leaving a legacy of destruction in their wake. Their story was a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the fragile nature of alliances born in the shadow of the dark side. Yet, for all their power and cunning, they remained pawns in the greater tapestry of the galaxy's history, their flames burning brightly but ultimately extinguished by their own greed and hatred. As the war between Maul and Dooku intensified, the galaxy's fractures deepened. Their battle for dominance reached every corner, with neutral systems caught in the crossfire, their resources plundered to fuel the conflict. Each skirmish, each betrayal, further destabilized the already crumbling structure of galactic civilization. Entire planets fell under Maul's reign of terror, while others submitted to Dooku's aristocratic vision of order. Neither path offered solace to the suffering populations, who found themselves enslaved to one tyrant or another. In the Outer Rim, Maul's empire of fear took root. He ruled not through ideology or loyalty, but sheer terror. His forces, made up of Mandalorians, mercenaries, and his criminal syndicates, enforced his will with brutal efficiency. The Shadow Collective grew stronger with every victory, swallowing rival factions and expanding its influence. Maul's vision was clear: total control of the galaxy, with himself as the ultimate ruler. Unlike Sidious, Maul had no grand plans for the Sith or the galaxy's betterment. His drive was purely personal, a vengeance-driven desire to dominate and destroy anyone who dared oppose him. Dooku, meanwhile, struggled to hold his fragmented separatist forces together. Without Sidious's overarching command, the cohesion of the movement began to falter. Many of the separatist leaders, industrialists, and warlords saw Maul's growing power as a threat, while others viewed Dooku as a relic of a failed cause. The Count's aristocratic demeanor and reliance on hierarchy alienated some of his would-be allies, who preferred Maul's more brutal, decisive leadership. Nevertheless, Dooku remained a formidable opponent, his mastery of strategy and manipulation allowing him to stay one step ahead in the larger battles of their conflict. The Jedi, though weakened and spread thin, began to sense the truth of what had transpired. Reports from the front lines hinted at a power struggle within the Sith ranks, with Sidious conspicuously absent from the larger galactic events. Yet this revelation brought them little comfort, as the dual threats of Maul and Dooku presented challenges far beyond what they were prepared to handle. Grand Master Yoda, burdened by the losses of countless Jedi, urged caution, sensing that any direct involvement in the conflict between the two Sith would only lead to further devastation. Meanwhile, Maul and Dooku's clash reached its peak in the Mid-Rim, where vital trade routes and strategic planets became the primary battlegrounds. Their forces collided in massive campaigns, each attempting to outflank and outmaneuver the other. On the planet Serenno, Dooku's ancestral homeworld, a climactic battle unfolded. Maul's forces laid siege to the planet, determined to bring Dooku to his knees. The skies of Serenno burned as fleets engaged in a brutal orbital conflict, while on the surface, Maul personally led an assault against Dooku's fortress. The duel between the two Sith rivals was a spectacle of the dark side's destructive power. Dooku's refined elegance and precision contrasted sharply with Maul's raw, unrelenting ferocity. The fortress walls crumbled under the intensity of their battle, each combatant drawing deeply from the Force to gain the upper hand. Yet neither could deliver a decisive blow. Their mutual hatred, while a source of power, also blinded them to the greater threats rising around them. Amid the chaos, a new faction emerged, one composed of Jedi, Republic loyalists, and defectors from both Maul and Dooku's forces. This coalition, driven by the hope of restoring peace, launched a surprise attack on Serenno during the siege. Their intervention turned the tide of the battle, forcing Maul and Dooku to retreat. While the coalition lacked the resources to challenge either Sith leader directly, their strike on Serenno marked the beginning of a larger resistance movement. The coalition's success galvanized support across the galaxy, inspiring uprisings on numerous worlds. Ordinary citizens, weary of the endless cycle of war and oppression, began to take up arms. This grassroots rebellion spread rapidly, forcing Maul and Dooku to divert resources to quell the unrest. The two Sith, once allies, now found themselves stretched thin, their ambitions undermined by the very chaos they had sown. In a desperate attempt to regain control, Maul turned to the dark side's most forbidden rituals, seeking power beyond the understanding of even the ancient Sith. His obsession with vengeance consumed him, driving him to reckless extremes. Dooku, on the other hand, sought to consolidate his remaining power, rallying the remnants of the separatist leadership under the promise of stability. Both strategies had their costs, further eroding their bases of support and alienating potential allies. The final confrontation between Maul and Dooku came on the devastated world of Mandalore, a planet scarred by Maul's earlier conquests. Here, the two Sith faced each other for the last time, their armies reduced to shattered remnants. The battle was as much a test of ideology as it was of strength, with Maul's chaotic brutality pitted against Dooku's calculated pragmatism. Their duel, fought amidst the ruins of a once proud civilization, symbolized the self-destructive nature of their ambitions. In the end, Maul's raw power proved too much for Dooku. The Count fell, his body broken and his dreams of a new order extinguished. But Maul's victory was hollow. His empire, built on fear and violence, was already crumbling under the weight of rebellion. The coalition, emboldened by Dooku's defeat, turned its full force against Maul, driving him into hiding once more. His vision of domination lay in ruins, a testament to the futility of the Sith's endless cycle of betrayal and conquest. The galaxy, though scarred, began to heal. The coalition's efforts led to the eventual restoration of a democratic government, though the scars of the Sith's influence remained. Maul, ever the survivor, disappeared into the shadows, his fate a mystery. Some whispered that he had gone mad, consumed by his own hatred. Others believed he continued to scheme, waiting for the right moment to strike again. But for the galaxy, the immediate threat had passed. The story of Maul and Dooku's alliance and ultimate downfall became a legend, a grim reminder of the perils of ambition and the destructive power of the dark side. Yet it also served as a beacon of hope, showing that even in the darkest times, resistance and unity could prevail. The galaxy moved forward, its people determined to rebuild, to rise above the ashes of war and tyranny, and to forge a brighter future free from the shadows of the Sith.